Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So continuing on with the FRM303, I'm going to show you how to update the firmware on this, back up your model memories because it has got 10 storable memories for your receivers and your settings to the receiver from the FRM303. Bear in mind these aren't your memories for the actual model, so your endpoints, stuff like that, these are just for the config that you've got to bind this to whatever receiver it's running. So I'll take you through that. This is also to show you how you get the full power out of this thing. So you do have multiple firmwares. So you've got the standard, which is 40 milliwatt, you've got the FCC, which is 1 watt, and then you've got the development kit software that is 2 watts and fully variable power. So you do have, I think, up to 5 power settings on it. So I'm going to show you how to put the fully variable power on it, because I'm guessing if you want a range extender, that's probably what you're after. You're going to want the most range. So I'll take you up to computer now. I'll show you how to download what software you need, how to get this updated to the dev software, so the full 2 watts output software, and then explain a few things about how you're going to need to power this to get the full power and things like that. Once we've done all the computer side of it, I'll bring it back down, plug it into the setup that we've got, and see if it already binds back once we've copied the memories to it, and then show you the various options of powering it and how you get the extra power out of it. So let's get you off up to PC. Right, so first thing we'll need to do is go to Flysky's website, click on Noble 4, click on Downloads, scroll all the way to the bottom, and then download and install Flysky Assistant 304. This is probably going to crash and take forever to set up and get working. Unfortunately, I've complained numerous times to Flysky about it, and we're still stuck with this version 304 that, to all intents and purposes, really doesn't work very well. But once you've got that downloaded, you can run the Assistant V3. You're going to want to get a good quality USB-C cable and your FRM303. So you're going to plug your FRM303 in. It doesn't matter what position the power socket's on. So once we've got that on, for some reason the digital camera picks up the red LED as yellow, but so be it. Your device will be connected and show up here, so we can click into it. We can then go to export, load TX memory. Now this is very interesting because the instructions for the FRM303 said that it's got 10 model memories, but Assistant V3 detects 20. So we're going to tick all and we're going to export it. Not really sure how valuable this is going to be, because if it's anything like the MB4 Pro, you have to rebind to each model memory anyway, so you'd have to remember which receiver were on which model. But moving on further, there is specific iBus and SBus settings for each one of these model memories that you can do, so it may be useful. So on your desktop, I've got my Assistant V3 folder. I've made a FRM303 folder, so we can go into that, and then I'd just like to name it. So I'll give it today's date, so 10/7/23, and you can name these any way you want. But then you click save, and that's going to export this for you. So in theory, you can click on firmware update, you can click update, and then you've got the 3 different versions. So we've got standard, which is limited to 40 milliwatt. We've got FCC, which is limited to 1 full watt of power. Then we've got the dev version that is the full 2 watts of power. Now I'm not going to try and update it through here because I've tried multiple times and Assistant just crashes and I don't want it bricking the FRM303. So we're going to come out of this, we're going to close Assistant. Now we're going to go back to Flysky's website, we're going to go to Products, we're going to scroll down and click RF. We're going to scroll to the bottom of here and you see the FRM303, and this is basically the way I prefer to update all my transmitters. So if we go to downloads, as we scroll down here, you may find this useful. So this is the full powered adjustable power output version of the instructions. So I'm going to download them, and I'll quickly just show you on here the part where we're interested in. So if I can find it, I know it's on here somewhere. So this is the part that we're going to be interested in. So it shows you how to adjust the power once we've got the full power dev version on. So you basically hold the up key for 3 seconds, the LED will start flashing yellow, and once it's in this mode, one flash is 25 milliwatt, 2 flashes is 100 milliwatt, 3 flashes is 500 milliwatt, 4 flashes is 1 watt, and 5 flashes is 2 watt. So you just use the up and down to choose it, and then you press and hold the center key for 3 seconds. That'll lock in your power. Now, from what I can work out, you will only get full power when you're powering it externally. If you try and power it internally from the receiver, you're not going to get full power. So you've got the power can be adjusted to 2 watt when the external power supply connected, up to 25 milliwatt for USB power. I would not suggest running it from USB at all. Up to 500 milliwatt for internal. So basically, if you're powering it off the receiver, you're only going to get half power, 500 milliwatt or quarter of power, depending on how you look at this. Look at the table. If you do want the full 1 and 2 watts, you're going to have to power it externally, which is understandable because it's drawing a lot more power, and you don't want to be dragging that through your receiver. So that's the instruction bit out of the way. So down at the bottom here, you can see we've got the 3 versions. So you can pick the version that you want, and it's the same process for all of them. So I'm going to click download. I'm going to stick this in our FRM303 folder. So once we've got this downloaded, we can go onto his desktop, into his Assistant V3, into his FRM303, and then we've got the software updater. So we can get this on. Once you've got this on, your device is plugged in, it says it's ready to be updated. So it shows you what software version is currently on it. We can then press update. So basically, if you try running the update and it fails, like it has done on mine, that may be because I've tried updating it with Assistant and it crashed. So basically it just says here, if you cannot update the RF through the above steps, you need to update it after it is in forced update state. So to do that, you press the up key for over 9 seconds while powering on the RF module. Red LED should flash twice and then go off, and that's in update state. So let's power it off, press the up key, so it says we should keep this held for over 9 seconds, and then the light should go red. So we've now got it doing 2 flashes and then off, even though on my camera it looks like it's yellow. So I'll close and reopen the update program. So now let's see if we get it updating. So that looks a lot better. I think this is probably the route I would take with it. Use Assistant to back the software up, and then we get the chime that it's back on. So it's updated to 1124, so we can close that. We can then back out of this and we can fire Assistant back up. So after waiting about 5 or 10 minutes, we have Assistant V3 back open. So we can click on his device, we can go to import, we can load his model memories, we can then browse back to our desktop folder, and then there's Assistant V3 folder, then there's FRM303, then the most current backup that we've got. Then we can click import. We can tell it we want to import them all. Then we click add and then click OK. This should start writing them back. And it does say imported successfully. So there we have it, fully updated. Now let's show you how to power it up and how to switch the actual controls of it. Right, so we've got the module connected and it's fully updated. If we power up as receiver that was previously bound to it. So once we've got it powered up, we can see it's powered up and connected and fully functioning. Now to change the power mode, you press and hold up. You'll see the light start flashing yellow. If you press all the way down, that setting is 25 milliwatt. The next setting will flash twice. That is 100 milliwatt. The next setting, it'll flash 3 times. That is 500 milliwatt. The next setting is 1 watt, and that'll flash 4 times. And then 5 times is the full 2 watts. If you try and press up again, you'll get a beep. Just remember, no matter what you have this set to, if you're just powering it internal, you will only get 500 milliwatts maximum out of it. So once you've got it set on the one you want, so we'll turn this all the way down to 25 milliwatt, you can press and hold. You'll hear it beep, and then to confirm it, press left. Then you're transmitting, in this case, on 25 milliwatt. Now, if you wanted to up the power, you're going to have to get a battery and wire in a plug. So then we connect this to the external power feed, and then we switch it to external power. Now we're on external power. You can press and hold the up. It'll go into programming mode for the power. You can go all the way up to the top. You can press and hold it. Then press left. Now you are getting the full 2 watts transmission power, the maximum power that this unit can provide. You will get a bit of heat generated on this. You have got the mounting holes to mount a fan. So as we can see, still functioning absolutely perfect on the full 2 watts of power. What I would do if I were going down this route, and this is how I wanted to power it all the time, rather than have a separate power feed for the receiver, I would probably get this set up with some Velcro so I can have the actual transmitter, so the FRM303 mounted on the battery pack itself. Then I'd have a BEC and I would run the actual receiver from the BEC, so you're only having to mess around with one battery then. More convenient, but there you have it, full 2 watts of transmission power, and to be fair, it's not even getting warm yet. So I think used outdoors you possibly won't even need a fan to keep it cool. You can run this from 5 to 28 volt DC and that'll give you the full power. You have got up to 500 milliwatt if you're running it internally powered, so without the external battery, and I believe you're limited to 25 milliwatt if you're powering it through the USB-C port, but I would not suggest powering it through USB-C for anything other than just updating the firmware. But as you see, it seems quite complicated, but once you've got it set up, if we wanted to drop the power now back down to 25 milliwatt or 1 watt, you can go into settings. All the way up is 2 watt, so 1 down, press and hold, and then just click left. That is on 1 watt setting, and then we can press up. We can come down again to 500 milliwatt, down again to 100 watt, down again to 25 watt. So plenty of choice of what power you want, and it depends on what range you're looking for with it and what actual use case you've got for it. But once you've got it on the setting you want, so all the way up would be 2 watt, 1 down 1 watt, 1 down again 500 milliwatt, 1 down again 100 watt, or 100 milliwatt, sorry, and then all the way down to the bottom 25 milliwatt. So I'm just using it for test purposes, so I'm going to set it on its lowest, and that way I don't have to power it externally if I don't want. And certainly while it's being set up on bench here, we don't want to be using 1, illegal power, and 2, more power than what I actually need to. But yeah, there you have it, the FRM303 and how to install the dev firmware. If you just want to install the standard firmware, you can just run it as it is. If you want to install the FCC firmware that'll give you 1 watt of power, you can just do that and you don't have to play with any power settings. Or you can have the dev firmware where you've got the 5 power settings to let you set whatever you want. So just be careful with it. Make sure you don't have anything conductive within 1 centimetre of the antenna when you're using it. Basically it'll cause RF feedback and everything and mess around with the SWR of the antenna, and it does give your output transistors a really hard time. But let's wrap this one up. So there you have it, fully updated on the dev software, full 2 power output when you're powering it externally, up to around, I think it's 500 milliwatt you've got if you're powering it internally. So you don't have to swap this software back if you don't want to use the full power. You can just limit the power back down by using the options and turning it back down to whatever you need. Few words of caution: don't ever power this up without an antenna on it, especially if you've got it on the 2 watt setting. The SWR will be out, you'll put your output transistors under an awful lot of load and possibly cause them to fail. And don't be touching the antenna because that'll affect it as well. You can use this antenna or you can use the high gain antenna. Just bear in mind, if you're using a high gain antenna, most countries measure your limited power at the antenna, not at the actual transmitter. So if you've got an incredibly high gain antenna, 500 milliwatt setting could put you over the actual maximum setting that you're allowed in your country. So just bear in mind, just be sensible with it. Don't get yourself into trouble. It is a very powerful little transmitter. I've seen reports on 2 watts with a high gain antenna of connection through the air up to 80 kilometers. God knows what you'd be using at that range. Possibly an FPV drone with one hell of a transmitter setup on it to get the picture back, or maybe remote flying if that's legal in your region. But yeah, definitely for the use of speedrunning and that, you're really not going to need anything with any more power or range than what this has got. And as I say, it's really configurable. You can attach a fan to the front, so if you're using it for extended periods of time on 2 watts full power, you might want to mount a little fan and you can power that from the same power source as your receiver. But yeah, very interesting little thing. There is other options you've got as well, where you can just have one big battery pack, then a BEC, so you can split the voltage for your receiver and the FRM303 from just one big battery pack. So if you'd like, I'd do a video on how you set that up. You'll have to let me know in comments if that's something you'd be interested in. But thanks again for watching Wtf Rc Cars. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, share to friends and family, and catch you guys again in the next one.